Let's freaking go. Coming at you hot and heavy with a fun, brief live stream tonight. I'm so freaking excited to chat some LSU offensive line today, including a player who is flying under the radar for this next season. And he actually reminds me a little bit of how we used to view Jeray Jenkins. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to chat about a potential all-white party invite for your boy. We saw Joey B. We saw Odell Beckham Jr. at this party that everybody can't quit talking about. Look at our two young goats right here. Oh my goodness gracious. I just wish to be a fly on the wall at this party. Absolutely love it. Some of my other heroes are actually at that party as well. So I need your help in the comments section today. Whether you're watching this live in the chat or down below, tell me what I need to do to get on that level, right? I can't run a 4.5. That's a problem. But the simple truth is this: I would rather be here with you guys instead of all those millionaires and billionaires. Well, just one night with them would be pretty cool. Kevin Hart, are you kidding me? The GOAT, Tom Brady. Well, actually, he's not the GOAT. That would be Peyton Manning. But I wanted to start today's live stream chatting about Charles Turner. Okay. Is this the guy that we kind of used to view like Jeray Jenkins, where we just kind of sleep on him and we don't really talk a whole lot about him? And the next thing you know, he is one of the key pieces for our success. Like Jeray was every year slept on. And before last season, Charles Turner wasn't even a part of the starting offensive line versus Florida State. And then, we had the season opener game. And next thing you know, in the first game, Garrett Dellinger's snap accuracy just wasn't really that great. And then that's obviously one of Charles Turner's strengths. His snaps are very accurate, and he never relinquished that starting center spot. And there are rumors that Marlon Martinez, who has had some good practices at center and has played some center, could be the guy. He could take the starting center's role. But what we're going to do is I'm going to share with you what Jim Nagy, the head of the Senior Bowl, has to say about Charles Turner today. Okay, we say hi to Skipper, LA Mom, a bunch of PHL legends. Cole, good to see you. As you guys know, the live stream schedule is pretty much set in stone for the time being. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays at 8:15 Central, and Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. Central. Okay, so let's go through what Jim Nagy had to say about Charles Turner. All right. He was actually studying somebody else, Miles Frazier, and then Charles Turner just kept popping up off the tape. Okay. So this is Jim Nagy, big time NFL evaluator, number 69. Nice. Charles Turner jumps off the tape with this twitch and excellent flexibility. So we won't be surprised when he's among the top testing offensive line at the combine, not at the Senior Bowl. We're talking about at the NFL combine next spring. Very, very, very interesting. And remember, a lot of LSU offensive linemen in recent years went to the Senior Bowl. Okay, so Damian Lewis, Lloyd Cushenberry, and Ed Ingram in recent years. And this is Miles Turner, what he had to say about him. Being labeled undersized always held him back until last year when he proved he had the necessary functional strength to hold his own in the SEC. Okay. Now, what's very interesting is, and I actually screwed this up. This is actually Charles Turner, okay, that he's talking about here. Excuse me. He is right. Charles Turner is undersized. He is not that heavy. 293 is really light for an SEC center. But it's doable. You don't have to be the biggest guy. Jason Kelsey is not the biggest guy, and he is going to be a Hall of Famer. Miles Frazier is a guy that he's really likes a lot at 343, an FIU transfer. So the reason why I wanted to start talking about this, okay, at the start of this live stream is what we like to do as fans is talk about the new thing, right? Obviously, we know what the offensive tackle situation is going to look like next year with Will Campbell at left tackle and then at right tackle, Emory Jones. And then the guy that is being asked about the most right now is obviously Lance Hurd. And a lot of people want Lance to be the starting right tackle so we could put Emory Jones in at right guard. Okay. So a guy I've been asked a lot about is Lance Hurd, and I also know Lance, right? So him being a guest on PHL, I'm not going to say we're friends, but I know him and I talk to him a lot on and off the camera, and he is one of the most impressive recruits I've ever been around when it comes to football IQ, what he wants out of his career, and just overall swag and confidence. So a lot of you have asked about Lance Hurd, and I get it. He's a 5-star. He is arguably the highest rated offensive lineman since Lyle Collins out of the state of Louisiana. So obviously, we're really excited about this. And then the other offensive lineman I've been asked a lot about is Mason Lunsford, the transfer coming in from Maryland. Okay. Here is a guy who actually has big time starters experience. He is an offensive guard, and the Big Ten has as good a defensive lineman as the SEC. They just do. They have really good defensive linemen every year. And he's gone up against these guys. He's gone up against Ohio State. He's gone up against Penn State. And obviously, the SEC has really great defensive linemen as well. So we know that he can play. And we also know last year that our offensive line got a little rocky in those Arkansas, Texas A&M, and Georgia performances. They just did. Was it fatigue? Maybe. But overall, our offensive line was really good last year. But I hardly ever get any Charles Turner questions, and I hardly ever get any Miles Frazier questions. I understand that those two had some issues going up against some of the stronger defensive linemen. I totally get it. But when the freaking leader of the Senior Bowl is saying, hey, I think not only can these guys play, I think that these guys can play in the NFL, that tells you something. Now, sometimes NFL upside doesn't always coincide with who you are currently as a player, because there are some mediocre college players that turn out to be very good NFL players. There have been some players who were just middle of the road at LSU, and they have been some of the best NFL players. It happens at every school. So up to this point, I would say Charles Turner and Miles Frazier are two very, very good players. Can we get better play out of them next year? Yes. Do we need better play out of them next year? I would say so, yes. But those two guys, I think, are just being slept on just a little bit. And it's just how I feel about them. I think, I watch them and I do see them occasionally miss an assignment here or there. I do think our offensive line in those final 3 games had some issues, in particular that Arkansas and that A&M game. And I say the final 3 Power 5 games. But all 3 of those games were not in Baton Rouge, right? And I also don't quite count Purdue as a Power 5 game because they played their JV team, basically. So, I can't wait to see what these guys do this next year. And look, we don't talk a whole lot of offensive line here, and that's what I want to be a big part of PHL, because we're going to be talking about Jaden and Nuss till the end of time. Okay? So we say hi to the Master Blaster, LA Mob, Joshua, Alex. Joshua says Drew Brees is a GOAT. Tyler, good to see you. Once again, guys and gals, if you want to get your topic in before the end of the live stream, feel free to super chat. We gave out a bunch of Tyrann Mathieu. We gave out 1 Tyrann Mathieu card. We gave out 1 Patrick Queen card. Gave out a Garrett Nussmeier autograph soon. As you guys know, if we hit $100 in super chats, We'll give out more goodies today. I have another Tyrann Matthew Saints card that obviously was a pretty popular card last year. I'll give out this other one that I have, his first year Prism card. Look at that. It looks pretty smooth to me. And then, of course, if we do hit a hundo, we will we will give out an autograph card. How about that? First $20 super chat will get this Tyrann Matthew card. How about that? Okay. Hundo will give out an autograph. Let's do it. Let's go. Which autograph do we want to give out today? I don't know how many. I wonder how many more Jacob Hesters I have. I gave out, I think, my last Jacob Hester. Anyway, we move along. We'll give out one. We'll give out a good juicy one. Maybe Charles Scott. We haven't given out a Charles Scott in a while, in quite some time. Now, next topic. Obviously, for our offensive line, they continue to get better. I will say one final thing about the party. Okay, I understand that it's not really that big of a deal to any of you because you just care about the current college football players, and celebrity culture is obviously a different thing. I don't know if I'll ever be in those circles. Hopefully one day I can be, because that means I would have money. But we're talking about this recently. Joe Burrow and Odell Beckham at that party. LSU athletes just have a little something extra about them. Whatever that it is, they have it. And I would say out of any school in the SEC right now, there is no school that has more A-list athletes, I'm looking at you, than LSU. Okay. Now, why does that matter? Well, athletes younger and younger now see a lot of LSU athletes with the LSU brand get these massive deals. And I do think about this quite a bit. Let's say someone like Olivia Dunn, if you will. Does she have the same type of hype surrounding her if she went to Florida or if she went to Alabama? Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. But there's just something about the brand that just takes you to that next level. Angel Reese, Flau'jae, whoever it may be. And it honestly has as much to do with their stardom as it does their actual playing ability. So it's going to be interesting, obviously, this next year for football. How does that relate to football? Well, I mean, if you're walking around A-list celebrities around campus, who doesn't want to be a part of that? So I always find it interesting. Every time I open social media, every time I talk to a former player, I talked to one in the 80s not too long ago for the first time ever. And it is interesting how that network stays together. Now, I'm not saying that that doesn't happen at other schools, but I have always found that to be so fascinating. The LSU network is just so unbelievably strong. Now, we get into some other football topics here. Yesterday, we talked quite a bit about, recruiting, how some other schools have done really good in recruiting. I do want to chat about Jelani Watkins. I'm feeling pretty good about his commitment. He is a wide receiver out of Texas who is an elite speedster at wide receiver. So I think Jaylen Brown, but he's faster than him. And LSU is feeling pretty good about his potential commitment pretty soon. So LSU's wide receivers, if this were to happen pretty soon, what I would tell you is LSU is building a pretty diverse wide receiver class. They would have two guys that I would consider to be smaller in Jelani Watkins and Michael Turner. And then they also have a 6'3" giant in Kylan Billiot committed. Now, some of their higher end 5-star talents have decided to go elsewhere. Obviously, Cam Coleman going to Texas A&M. They're able to get him on campus. The vibes weren't right. He ended up going to Texas A&M. Whatever. Draylon Miller ended up going to Texas A&M. So there were some other elite wide receivers that we were after, but Jelani Watkins is really, really, really fast. Now, he is tiny. He's smaller. And it's hard in the SEC to play when you're not the biggest of size. But obviously, LSU is really high on him, and we'll see obviously his development moving forward. And the bottom line is at wide receiver, he'll have time to develop, right? Because LSU's wide receiver room is really young, and at this point, just based on, the grades that I gave these two prospects in particular, Kyle Parker and Shelton Sampson are guys that I feel pretty good about being really good SEC players. So if that's the case, we obviously would like to get more elite wide receivers, but that position is always one where LSU will be fine. The next big question for me is going to be, and I've heard some good things along this front, but offensive line. Can we do a better job of getting some other offensive linemen to join Ethan Callaway and Kari Lee? And look, offensive line, I mean, you just got to get the best guys, the best recruits you possibly can. I think offensive line recruiting has been better in terms of the sites grading the actual best offensive linemen. Um, I will say, and this could be some Louisiana 3-star bias. I'll always say it. I cheer for the Louisiana 3-stars more than anything else. Kari Lee is a really good football player. I personally like him a lot. And he's also an offensive lineman in this 2024 crop. I really do like him, but I just think every offensive line crop, you need to be 4 to 5 deep, every single one of them. So let's hope that some things begin to break our way as far as that is concerned. And I think Brad Davis is working pretty hard to get some of that done. So there you go. Now, Sibley comes in, the great, strong LSU network. It is indeed very strong. It is definitely one of the strongest alumni base. It might not be the deepest pockets, okay, but NIL is really good at LSU. There are a lot of successful people that have gone to LSU that run Fortune 500 companies that have gone on to do great things in their lives. It's hard to compete with Texas oil money. I think every one of you know that, but we're LSU, and we've got the money moving forward to outbid, if you will, some guys that we are after. And look, I got this message twice after last night's live stream because I did get Texas A&M a lot of credit. They did close on some guys that I really liked a lot. And I get this question quite a bit. Should we be worried about NIL and spending and this and that and the third and whatever? No, I think we are fine in that department. Yes, there always is going to be somebody richer out there who can outspend anybody. But I think we're fine. I do. And I'll go on this. I'll touch on this really quickly. Everybody, welcome David Woodard to the channel. Oh man, I feel so bad for David just a little bit because the BCS National Championship patch does look really, really, really good. And I actually have that same patch on my backpack. And obviously that game did not. Actually, no, I think is that the 07 patch? I don't know. I think that's the 11 patch. I'd have to go look at mine really quickly. But still, I just hate that it's just such a sore memory. And it's technically the 12 patch, but you guys get what I'm saying. So everybody, welcome David to the channel. We want David to be a big part of what we are building here at PHL. What elite CBs do you think we will get? Obviously, I'm happy with the youth we have at corner right now. As far as like the current, DB room, we always want to start there. Denver Harris and J.K. Johnson, they've got to play at least 2 more years of college football. And that's if those guys turn out to be really good players. I think at least one of them will. Obviously, Terrence Welsh is a guy that I think a lot of people feel pretty good about moving forward in this room. But obviously, we want to recruit a bunch of new blood in every single year in the secondary. Okay, so let's start with the class that we just brought in. Ashton Stamps, Jeremiah Hughes are both 3 stars, but I would like to think one of them could turn out to be a good player. Could one of them actually be better suited at safety? Maybe so. That, discussion happens almost every day with certain players, but I think at least one of those guys will be good. And then, of course, you have JV and Toviano, who is more of a nickel safety type. But overall, the DB class last year was pretty good. And then you got this next DB class. You got 3 Louisiana DBs already committed, um, and hopefully there will be more. And I think the name that David probably wants to mention is Wardell Mack, who's had a few crystal balls put into Texas at this point. Um, Obviously, for those that aren't familiar, he is a top 125 DB for the class of 2024. Um, and this is a guy that I think a lot of you want to be a part of LSU, especially defensive back. That's a position I think a lot of you understand. It's very important for the LSU brand. I know a lot of you still have, some blowback um, with the young man out of Westgate that chose Texas last year. I won't bring his name up because that always starts a debate. But obviously now with Wardell Mack potentially going to Texas, that very well could be a situation where LSU feels as if they could lose him to an out-of-state school. Obviously, there are other schools that are in it for him, but at this point, it's still too early to tell. I think he is pretty solid, though. I do. I do. Um, so there you go. David, I want you to feel welcome. Obviously, yeah, I wish I could tell you a gazillion percent that we're going to bring in a bunch of different new DBs to the fold. Okay. Uh, but as of I'll post the full list here. I won't talk too much Andre Evans, David, because we have done a lot of Andre Evans content on the Patreon. And by the way, if you join the PHL Patreon today or anytime, you get a Joe Burrow card in the mail from your boy. Um, Obviously, Andre Evans is a very raw corner who is unbelievably athletic, sub 100, 100 meter, or sub 10, 100 meter, or excuse me, sub 11, 100 meter. Deshaun McBride is, to me, right now, the best player in this class. I like Trey Green a lot. I don't think anyone doesn't, but I think McBride is a big time safety out of Denham Springs, obviously. And then, of course, you have some really good DBs right here, Joel Rogers and Jawan Johnson. Both play quarterback in high school, but they also play some DB as well. And then, of course, you have Wallace Foster, the really good DB out of Warren Easton. So, this DB class so far is pretty good, but obviously you want to bring in some more elite names. There you go, David. I absolutely love it, man. Well, you join the Patreon. I'm going to hook you up with a very nice Joe Burrow card, my man. When is Kai Bates committing? I'm not too familiar with him. I know he is a top 150 guy, I believe, out of Florida. I've not really watched him a whole lot, but you let me know what you think, Chance. Um, I, I, I just not watched him a whole lot up to this point. Some of it is just fatigue, though. There's only like so much you can really just can consume in a day. So there you go. Yeah, it was Z in the background. We have a guest here from Washington, D.C. in the house. Let's go. Now, next thing. What else? What else do we want to get into? Obviously, we're ending at 7 tonight. Or we'll keep going. We'll keep going. I do have AYS to do at 7:30. So there you go. Now, next thing. I put out a tweet. I'm working on this video for Power Hour SEC. We talked quite a bit about Brian Kelly's, national championship comments during the last live stream, but I cannot say this enough. As someone that loves LSU football, it's my job. It's a hobby at the same time, but it really is my full-time job. I cannot tell you enough how at the end of the Orgeron 10-year, just hearing how things were going and, the vitriol I got on some of the videos, I'm so glad right now that things are stable, right? We have a lot of hype going into next year, but our quarterback situation is smooth right now. Our coordinator situation is very smooth right now. Um, and our offensive line situation is pretty good right now as well. Those things are absolutely critical as you move forward as a program. And we have, bookend tackles that are locked in for at least 2 more years. There's a lot of stability in LSU's program right now, a lot. But that's not the case in other programs. They don't have offensive tackles that they feel comfortable with. They don't have quarterback situations that they feel comfortable with. They don't have coaching contracts that they feel comfortable with. I am pretty sure, even though we're only in year 2 of Brian Kelly's 10-year, $100 million deal, we feel a lot better about that deal, even though we have all this guaranteed money that he's still going to make. We feel a lot better about where we are than where Texas A&M is right now, where Florida is right now, even though both of them have had good recruiting weeks. So I will tell you this, when I speak to my friends and that are in other SEC programs and work at other SEC programs, stability is kind of the name of the game right now with LSU. We have a good idea of what our program will look like at key spots moving forward, right? And the more I slept on the Brian Kelly comments, he knows what his offensive tackle situation is going to look like for at least 2 more seasons. He knows what his quarterback situation is going to look like for at least 2 more seasons. He knows that the likelihood that Mike Dimbrock leaves for a head coaching job is very little unless it is something truly great. All right. Unless the NFL comes calling for his offensive coordinator services, which could happen if we have a really good year offensively. And he knows his DC, even though Matt House is younger, and I do think he's got some legs for a potential head coaching job at some point. Um, I think he feels pretty good about all the stability he has right now. Recruiting is fine. It could be better. Obviously, we would have liked a few more of these dominoes to fall in our favor, but it is what it is. Okay. So let's say out of Marcus. What's up, baby? Good to see you. Tell the fam I said hello. Obviously, the mood of San Antonio has been crazy for you lately. What's up, Pegasus? Good to see you. But I cannot stress this enough. Stability, stability, stability. It goes a long way. Now, we want this stability to turn into championship upside. And that obviously is the final, thing for Brian Kelly to accomplish in his career. He's accomplished everything else. Obviously, I think winning a national championship and having a Heisman Trophy winner are two things that he would like, but more the former than the latter, obviously. Um, So yeah, I think that's going to be a very interesting scenario uh, over these next couple of seasons with all these other SEC programs that are doing some good recruiting in 2024. But then, how do we know how good their programs are actually going to be this year? Things can go sour pretty quickly for Texas A&M. Florida has the most difficult schedules for 2023 and 2024. Will Billy Napier be able to survive that? LSU, I feel pretty good about this roster next year that we are no less going to be a 9-3 football team. So there you go. LA Mom coming in with the hot take. I'm afraid House will be gone after this year, but that's a worry for another day. Yeah, I can see that. He's young. He has NFL and college experience. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I just don't think he's going to go anywhere. I just don't. So uh, there you go. Let's see. Let's see. Is Turner going to be the starter or is it going to be Martinez? I think Marlon Martinez very well could win the job. I I just think that there is something to be said about Charles Turner accurately putting the snap on the money almost every single time. Uh, I wonder how big of a hot the staff will take if we win the Natty. Oh, well, yeah. Obviously, your staff always is going to take a shot when you win a Natty. And that is a trade every single person in that building would make. Every single one of them. I would think every assistant, if you were to say, hey, you can win the national championship, but not have your job at LSU the next year, every assistant would take it because more than likely they're not being let go. They're being promoted somewhere else, right? Every single assistant would take that. Every single one of them. Okay. Thank you, AP. I really appreciate it. If any of you ever want to send cards to me, obviously I have some that I keep, but I give out quite a few of the cards that are sent to me in the mail. This was actually the one we're giving out today. Once again, the first $20 super chatter is getting this Tyrann Matthew card in the mail. Um, the um, the cards I send out are oftentimes cards that you guys give me, cards that I've had in my collection in quite some time. And this one right here from AP K Doty autograph card right here, I have out. I don't think I'm ever going to give this one away. That's my first ever LSU baseball autograph right there. Autograph card, that is. So there you go. This is a big what if that I actually kind of sort of agree with. You know, the more I watch that game, it was all over the place. It was all over the place, the snapping. And you also got to keep this in mind as well. When you run a lot of uh, jet sweep and pre snap motion, play action, zone read kind of stuff that we did last year, the snap is so paramount being on the money. Okay. Um, Especially with the quarterback like Jaden, who has, a lot of ball skills, when it comes to pulling and timing and all of that. Uh, Once again, I will say this 12 times over. Jaden Daniels keeping us in that Florida State game is just freaking crazy, considering the wild snaps, the pass protection, the drops. Uh, it really was one of his better games last year with an 80 plus QBR. Um, so uh, there you have it. Was it really that different in preseason? Yeah, and look, um, I think that was Brian Kelly's biggest lesson in from the Florida State game last year is coaches in general. You can have the absolute smartest coaches on the planet. LSU's got some of the brightest minds out there. And Brad Davis was an offensive line coach holdover from the last regime. So it wasn't like it was a brand new offensive line coach. And it wasn't like, Brian Kelly doesn't know anything about offensive line. It's probably one of his stronger positions when it comes to development and drafting and all of that. But the truth is, nobody is really good at determining who your best players are without actually having games, right? The only way you can really know is with games. That's it. You can't really tell a whole lot in practice. There are some things you can see in practice, like, for instance, um, when Malik Neighbors first stepped on campus, uh, there was someone who watched the channel at the time who had access to practice, and I did a ranking of the LSU wide receivers coming out of high school, and I had Malik last because there wasn't a senior high school tape, even though 7-on-7 stuff was really good. Uh, I had someone text me saying, "Hey, you Malik is that guy," and I never said Malik wasn't going to be great, but it was, "Hey, Malik is really going to be something special at LSU," and uh, the rest is history. Okay, I think wide receiver is definitely one of the positions you can see if someone is him or not. I think that's a little bit better of a practice position, but offensive line, no way. You can't tell jack squat with your offensive line unless someone is just not good. But you saw how quickly the offensive line changed, and Brian Kelly eventually, along with Brad Davis, found the right combination. But all schools are like that. It is hard to find the guys that could truly get out there and play Power Five Division One football. You also got to keep in mind Florida State's defensive line was so freaking good last year, and they return everybody basically. So, um, yeah, and AP said, "Look, Malik, he thought at your daughter's high school he was average." Yeah, and that's the thing, if you really go back, and I know it's like confirmation bias to go look at this, but Malik in these 7-on-7 tournaments are truly a sight to behold. And the Rona really hurt him in terms of that their in particular high school season. Um, But yeah, and TOV makes a really good point. I think it was the same problem that we had with the punt returns practice and replicating an opposing team coming at you to take your head off when you catch it. That's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Oh, mm. Oh, we got a J Red signing? We got a J Red signing? What's up, man? Good to see you, buddy. I love a good chill Wednesday night live stream. Let's go. Let's go. Let's see. Some players are practice players, and some players only play when the lights come on. That is true. I love Vet's new picture. Yeah, Vet's new picture is definitely way better than the other one. Nothing wrong with the cartoon, but gotta love the two doggos. And it was something. I don't even remember, but whatever the case may be, he turned out to be him, and that's all there is to it. Now, here's what you're gonna do. I want to chat all of college football. I know a lot of you like to just do the SEC. Uh, obviously, every live stream can turn into a Jaden debate. Kind of wanted to not talk about Jaden and Nuts tonight, uh, but I do want to share with you a few things about college football as a whole. 2 or 3 not good as one. Good to see you. All right, we'll go to Tony's super chat really quickly. What game are you going to first this year? So obviously, I'm probably going to the Arkansas game this year. First SEC home game of the season, and that's the one. I really am probably not going to go to Orlando. Um, I just can't make it work. I mean, I could, but hopefully that changes. I know Jared's going and a bunch of other super diehard PHLers. I think Sibley's going as well. Um, so I am going to Arkansas. I feel pretty good about that one, barring something massive. So we'll work something out, and hopefully, we can make the Arkansas game have a PHL get together somewhere, maybe the night before the actual game, especially if it's an 11 a.m. game. But yeah, I'm definitely going to go. I might not actually go to the game itself because obviously when you go to the game, it makes it a little bit harder to do all the things that I need to do. But then again, the home game that I did go to last year was the Alabama game. So I am good luck. So yeah, I think Arkansas is definitely going to be the one. So let me know what game are you planning on going to? The Master Blaster. 2 or 3 not good as one. That Kenny Chesney super chat. I'm always prepared for it. Josh Pate thinks we're the third best QB room in the league, or in college football, behind USC and Texas. I think we're first or second in the league. Yeah, obviously any QB room with Caleb Williams in it is probably going to be the best QB room out there. Malachi Nelson is obviously a really good quarterback prospect as well. I love Tennessee's quarterback room. I think the world of Nico, as you guys know. He was my number one quarterback in this last cycle. So there you go. But as far as Texas's quarterback room, I'm kind of talking myself into Malik Murphy actually being the guy. They are really talented, even though I think Quinn Ewers is definitely overvalued. I saw to get a VIP ticket to his nonprofit fundraiser. It's a good cause, but a VIP ticket to the Quinn Ewers fundraiser is $2,600. It's a lot of money. But yeah, I think Malik Murphy is going to be the guy. I think at some point he's going to be the guy playing, and then of course they have Arch Manning. So we'll see. Now, also a big congrats to the Master Blaster. He is getting the Tyrann Mathieu card. Congratulations, Tony. This one's going out to you, man. You're the first $20 super chatter. There you go. The Master Blaster. Jared, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate you as always. Jared is for sure going to the game in Orlando. Really get that. Then again, and this is fine. I'm nothing against Pate State. I think what he's done is pretty cool. I disagree with him on a lot of stuff, and it's not just like LSU related stuff. And that's perfectly fine as well. AP thinks his chat is acting up. There you go. Brambo. Is Brambo in here? He says he wants a big offensive line. Wouldn't mind Marlon Martinez taking the center position. Good seeing you, Brambo. Is Caleb really the best because he plays nobody? How can you be the best if you play nobody? Well, my issue with that is as a true freshman, he was pretty good at Oklahoma. And at USC, he was once again really good as well. Now, the Pac-12 doesn't have great defenses. I've always said that, since those Palomalu years, Pac-12 defenses consistently stink. But, he's just really good. I mean, there's just no other way around it. He is truly a magician. We have the best 1-2 combo in the country, hands down. I agree with that. I do. I really, really do. I think in the SEC, obviously Georgia's quarterback room has some talent. I also like what Arkansas has done. I also like what Ole Miss has done. But I do agree we have the best 1-2. I do. I mean, when does Jared not nail it? But yeah, I would say LSU 1, Ole Miss 2, and then number 3, I'll go Tennessee. I'll go Tennessee. We'll see what Carson Beck has to say about that at Georgia. And one guy we haven't talked a whole lot about is Devin Leary at Kentucky. 2 or 3, not good as 1. Go Tigers. Also, how gray do you think Ryan Day's beard really is? How gray do I think it is? Is it really a gray beard? Let's see. Oh, how gray do I think his beard will be this year? He's got a few gray whiskers in there. Look at that. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. That's the one we want right here. Let's put Ryan Day's beard. It got super chatted. Is that beard pitch black? Got a few gray whiskers in here. Got a few whiskers in there. But if y'all want to see what a manly beard looks like, bang. That's how real men grow their beard out. That's it. Now, if you watched the live stream last night, you've already gotten blessed with this image. Mm. Oh, you think that's dye? You think it's dye 2 or 3 not good as 1? Y'all think that's it's I think his seat is kind of warm. I do. Um, and I'd say kinda. It just doesn't seem right though. Like they're still recruiting all the best receivers. They're still recruiting the best defensive lineman at Ohio State. They Thank you, Grant. I appreciate it. How does any of this how this how hot is Ryan Day's seat next year? Obviously, their wide receivers are so good. We'll see what the quarterback situation looks like next year, but I mean, they'll be fine. And then defensively, their defensive line, once again, loaded with 5 stars. Their back end is going to be interesting, pause. But, special teams, look, imagine how much history has changed if you make that field goal. If you make that field goal at the end of the game. Now, here's what you're going to do. This is a Wednesday night live stream. So get your super chats in. We'll be getting out of here around 7. I'll be on with Blake at 7:30. Okay. Nuss is a very talented quarterback and thus a fabulous quarterback. Would you be shocked to see BK have a 2 quarterback system like he did at Notre Dame? It would not shock me. But BK has talked about this publicly a few times. He prefers just to have one. I think most would publicly prefer to say that and privately prefer to say that as well. But look, this is an email I received after the Purdue game about can this actually be a thing moving forward with how LSU did the Purdue game with Nuss and Jaden? And to that, I would say you don't want that. Purdue's team sucked, and they didn't want to be there. Okay. A good sign of knowing a team doesn't want to be there is when they don't try to tackle. All right. Now, AP follows up and says, I hope BK plays a dual quarterback system. Everybody, welcome Johnny U to the channel. Good to see you, Johnny U. Hope you subscribe and you tune in. Don't forget, y'all, tomorrow night we'll be back with our uncapped 8:15 Central live stream. We'll go 2 hours. We'll go 3 hours. I think we went north of 3 hours last night. I don't remember. But Wednesday night is for 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And there you go. So get your super chats in if you want your question answered right at the end. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. If that were to happen again, Jared, and I didn't stay, I think Blake and Haley would be very angry at me more than I would be angry at myself. Because, you know, when I commit to something, I commit to it. Okay. And Blake is my best buddy. So I'm always there for him. But yeah, 2 quarterback system. I don't see it next year. I just don't. Even though I am a big Garrett Nussmeier guy, I still stand by what I've said about him starting the Grambling game to get some reps as the starter. But I also get Brian Kelly wanting continuity and keeping Jaden as a starter. I get that as well. But yeah, I just don't see the 2 QB system happening. It would be interesting though if you do it at least once. I think teams are going to have to prepare for both of them anyway. But I think it's pretty clearly going to be Jaden's team. And I think, you know, to AP's point, I hope BK plays a dual quarterback system. I know it's easy to publicly say, hey, I like him. Hey, I like him. As far as, you know, the quarterbacks saying they like being in the quarterback room with each other. But I could legitimately say that Jaden and Nuss do get along. So this is not an animosity system. There are quarterback situations where there is animosity between the 2 quarterbacks, right? Good example, Tennessee Titans last year. They drafted a quarterback, interviewed Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill said, F that dude. Now, I'm not going out of my way to help him, basically, paraphrasing. You know, Jane and us spent a lot of time together. So I do think that also helps. But this team is behind Jaden, and we'll see how far they can take him. Now, how different do the offenses operate with both of them is also an entirely different question. I do think in terms of explosive ceiling, Garrett Nussmeier does give you a little bit more. The yard per play data backs that up as well. Just in that Georgia game alone, once again, that's a smaller sample, but you know, we do get a little bit more explosive in the passing game. We do, however, get less explosive in the running game with Jaden out of the lineup. And Jaden doesn't turn the football over like Garrett Nussmeier turns the football over. Even though that kind of backfired on Jaden in the Texas A&M and Arkansas games where he had turnovers that he should have not committed. They were bad turnovers. Still, though, Jaden's a guy. Both of them have really good upside. Both of them give you 2 completely different skill sets. And it should be interesting because I'm sure Brian Kelly's going to be asked this before the season. Hey, how do you feel about both the quarterbacks? And he says he's going to obviously say, yeah, I do feel pretty good about both of them. I think the more interesting question is, how much do you change your offense with both quarterbacks? And while you always are just going to have, I mean, everyone knows the same plays and all of that, the play calling does change with those two, right? It has to because they're different players. But yeah, that is true. That was truly insane. It was truly, truly, truly insane. See the I didn't actually put a poll question up. Last night I didn't have my microphone on for most of the live stream. No one said anything. I forgot to put a poll question up at a pinned comment as well. So you guys are failing me. I'm failing myself, honestly. Huh? Huh? Let's go to David. He's been a long-time viewer, first-time commenter. I do think a dual quarterback system is a negative. I personally think it disrupts the rhythm with the game. Let's go to Blaine. Blaine's been rocking with me for a while now. I think LSU needs to get an elite corner, pass rusher, and O-lineman and wide receiver in every single class. Got to pay to play. Georgia's been getting elite talent for the last 6 to 7 years. True, but we have as well, just not as elite as Georgia's. But obviously, that's going to be the next step. Can we get to where we are no doubt top 5 recruiters in every class? That's hard because you would have to unseat one of those 3 that know that they're going to have a top 5 class every year. That's Ohio State, Georgia, Bama. Jared agrees with the 2 quarterback system. Jim says caveats are dangerous. Yeah, that's true. You know what else are dangerous? Eating a Popeye's biscuit without anything to drink. It'll clog you up. It'll suffocate you. POV, appreciate the huge super chat. I'm sure Grant appreciated it as well. I would be okay with letting Nuss play the give me games to prep him for 2024 to minimize the risk to JD5 so he's ready for the big games. Yeah, it's true. The only thing is, while it is true, like a game like Grambling is a gimme game, man, you know, it's you don't want to characterize anything as a gimme game. But I do agree that I think Nuss should play a lot versus Grambling. A lot. I'd put it out there for FSU that the Tigers have not made a QB decision. They take 2 different types of preparations and let them wonder. And we did that last year too. And they know it's going to be Jaden. And I think we know it's going to be Jaden. So I think most would say it's Jaden at this point. So there you go. Now, don't forget, I'll be on with Blake at 7:30. I'll answer a few more questions here at the end. If you super chat, that we'll keep it going for just a little bit longer. So there you go. It's hard to make mistakes when you don't take risk. True. And I think Jaden and Brian and Dimbrock have all pretty much said the same thing. You know, they've got to take more risk. You just do. Yeah, and I'll tell you this just as a defensive lineman, I would much rather play Nuss than Jaden. Much rather. Not even close. When you play a dual threat quarterback, it just, and that's not saying Nuss is a statue. It's just Jaden is spectacular as a runner. Not good, not great, spectacular. All right, I'll be chatting in the Discord. Don't forget, sign up for the PHL Patreon now. Each and every one of you that sign up gets a Joe Burrow card from yours truly. Okay. Now, something else. Congrats to the Master Blaster. He was a winner of the Tyrann Mathieu giveaway. All right. We'll see you in a few, baby. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom. And tonight, oh, it's barbecue chicken night.